Hello guys, I'm on the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the original Avatar. Yeah, not much to say, but I recently did a community post like 2 minutes ago, right before I filmed this video, about the videos for the rest of the year. I think so, at least I think for the rest of the year. And then, yeah, so without further ado, I think we can get into this, but yeah, just go check that out for some notice, I guess. Starting off what this movie's about. This movie's about these a band of humans, I guess they're technically Marines, or I guess, and then they're trying to get this item from this whole land of Pandora, where these creatures are, I don't remember what they're called, like, I'll just call them the Avatars, where they are located. They need to wreck their home to get all of this stuff, and then pretty much it leads to a couple of them sort of getting through these thing where they transform to these Avatar creatures, and then sort of get the brains, and then get a body or something. I'm not 100% sure, but then they go to infiltrate. They're just meant to infiltrate, but then this one Jake Sully guy, who's paralyzed, he goes there, he gets to the planet, and then realizes he just realized that there's something so great about this world, and he changes his mind about this whole situation, sort of. Now we have the good, and starting off the good, the first thing I think most people would talk about, and I think this is the reason why this is the highest grossing movie of all time, or was the highest grossing movie of all time, is the 3D effects, or the visual and special effects. It looks amazing. All of the world effects just look so epic and so real and just sort of there. I bet this would have been a great movie to go see in IMAX or something, and they all look amazing. You have the 3D effects with the Avatar creatures themselves, and that stuff looks really cool. Just the effects, the way they put all these epic battle scenes together just looks really cool. And it sort of has sort of a Lord of the Rings aspect to it, with the sort of epicness of sort of the story itself, really, but really it's not. It's Last Samurai pretty much. But whatever, we'll talk about that later. So yeah, overall the effects and the grand scope of things, the way I think James Cameron is able to craft this movie and then he put all the action sequences together, it just looks amazing. And for the end, the effects, like they just blow me away. You're just put right there in the world of Pantera. The world of Pandora just looks amazing, and it's just like a place you want to visit. It reminds me a little bit of Middle-earth in some ways, although I think it looks even better because you have the whole forest jungle nature. You see the creatures and the culture of the Avatar creatures, or whatever they're called. And you see sort of how like everything kind of plays out. I think the final battle, I think for the most part, works pretty well. There are a lot of issues, and I think the runtime is too long. But I think the visual effects, don't exactly make up for the weak story and weak characters for the most part. But I think these performance from Zoe Saldana as the Naif or whatever her name is, that whole character, I think she actually plays her really well. But there's a lot of issues with this movie. Now we have the mixed, and I think I'm gonna go with the characters because this is not usually something I'd be mixed on, but to be honest, the main character of Jake Sully, he's not that interesting. I think a bunch of some of the leads. Sigourney Weaver character, she gives a good performance, but her character's not that interesting. All of a bunch of those lead characters are not good. But then you have Zoe Saldana's character, which I think Zoe Saldana gives a great performance. I think the character herself isn't bad. And then you have the villain, I completely forgot his name, the captain or whatever, and I think he's just kind of an evil presence there, and you want to see him destroyed in the end, and you get that satisfaction when he gets like stabbed in the heart or whatever by those giant arrows. So that's really like it. There's a couple good characters, but then at the same time they're also kind of generic. But for the most part, they have their good arcs, and I think they're done really well, especially as you see Jake Sully realize that there's all of this whole universe is really what is for him, and really that's the good part, and the humans are doing something bad. So I think the way that all plays out, I think works for the most part, but the characters at the same time, they're generic. Speaking of generic, not even the bad, and really the thing that just frustrates me with this movie is the story. I've seen this movie twice now. It's also not a rewatchable movie, but that's fine. Neither is Titanic, or yeah. So The problem with this movie really is the story. It's just generic. It's Last Samurai again, and I wouldn't even say it's done as interesting because it's none of the because it doesn't feel like this was like sort of done really well. It doesn't feel like James Cameron doesn't really have like a specific style. His style is for the most part pretty generic, especially in his latest movies. In his early movies, you can sort of see it like with the Terminator and True Lies and Aliens. You can sort of see it a little there with like these one-liners, but that's not really done here, and I don't think the voiceovers really work as well. They're a bit kind of odd throwing just to kind of throw in there, but anyway, other than that, really, I think the story works for the most part. I think the idea of it works well for the movie, but the problem is when you have these amazing effects, I think they could have done a much more interesting story and maybe done something a little different with it. I mean, you could have kept some of the elements, but make it a little bit different, maybe complicated a little bit more, where these maybe different factions, who knows. But like in the end, I think it was just kind of generic. It's kind of what hurts the movie because, to be honest, besides the story and characters, everything else really works. The action sequences are cool. All of these amazing effects and wide swooping shots of like Jake Sully and the dragon are really cool. But then you have the story where I'm like, it's just frustrating. And also the first, pretty much until you actually get into Pandora, the whole first like 20 minutes of this movie or 20, 30 minutes of this movie just bore me to death, to be honest. I remember not liking the first 20 or 30 minutes because you're learning about the Jake Sully character. It's just not interesting. Yeah, but then once you get past that, I think it gets much better. But yeah, in the end, I do like this movie. I think it's perfectly fine. Like, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Would I rewatch it? Maybe. But to be honest, I think I'm gonna give it maybe a 7.7 out of 10. I do enjoy this movie. I think it's a perfectly good movie. I do actually like it. It is probably my least favorite James Cameron movie, although I haven't seen The Abyss. Maybe I'll rank the James Cameron movies, but probably gonna have to be until after winter break. But whatever. I think it could be thrown out there, I guess. Share your thoughts about this movie in the comments below. Are you excited for Avatar 2, The Way of the Water? Have you seen it already? Tell me your thing. I'm about to go see it tomorrow, and I'm probably going to review it on Sunday, probably. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.